Welcome to the KR Films Entertainment channel. Today I'm going to show an action-adventure drama and science fiction film called Enemy Mine. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. By the end of the 21st century, Oliver's nations have established peace and cooperated to explore and inhabit space. Earth unfortunately was not alone in the universe. Call it as on merit came across the species of non-humanoid aliens known as the Drax. The five in eventual war between Earth and the Drax resulted from a dispute about who was first and had the legal right to the universe. During their operations for track fighter ships approached your space station, the comments or raid among the fighter pilots are damage and his co-pilot Wooster. The Earth defenders appeared to be winning the battle until 6 track fighter ships joined the combat. Echo 6, an Earth fighter, is destroyed by one of the Jack fighters, killing its pilots. Enraged, Damage pursues the Drax spacecraft away from the remainder of the action, but the Drag pilot skillfully evades multiple beam ballists. Wooster alerts Damage that their ship's motors are overheating and they're approaching the uncharted planted, firing for however Damage is fixated on destroy. During the Jack ship and the pilot finally he hits the Drag ships when damaging but not destroying it. In the fog of the upper atmosphere he sees the Jack pilot eject from a ship but soon lose his sight of both the pilot and the ship. Among all the chaos, Damage saves Wooster from the wreckage by his shipping slows, including their supplies. Wooster is severely injured from the impact and dies. Damage puts up a stone barrel over Wooster's remains in place as Wooster do his broken helmet a topic as a memorial. He locates the wreckage of the Drag ship and is confident that the escape pod with the Jack pilot is nearby. As he sets out to kill the Jack, he realizes that he's never seen one of their race before and knows very little about their physique. He only understands that they are reptiles with male and female body parts. As Damage explores the planet, a long tendril emerges from the sinkhole's bottom, scanning the air for vibrations and odors. It pulls back and grabs a turtle-like creature's shell, pushing it down into the sand. A gigantic belching sound is heard as the turtle feature's shell is speed out of the sinkhole, joining other similar shells surrounding the sinkhole sides. Damage walks to a lake in an unfamiliar place and discovers the Jack pilot swimming and bathing itself. It's caused by a bonfire. After emerging from the water, still recovering from the crash, Damage gets closer to kill it, but a tiny rock outcropping under his boot falls. As he aims his pistol, he clings to the ledges, but his gun slips and falls into the lake below, alerting the track. Damage stays motionless until midnight when he makes his move. The drug's DDoS sits gone on the broken spacecraft's spokane and dives back into the water to resume swimming. Damage finds a container, flammable fuel spills that across the lake surface and then burns it with a flare. He reaches for the Drax weapon, hysterically laughing at the thought that the Drac must be on fire. He composes upon touching the weapon, discovering that the dragon placed it in close contact with the ship's exposed circuitry. The Drac stands over Damage and greets him with a victorious grin after kicking him away from the ship. When David yells the Slayer Toad, face the Drag, it instantly stands up and walks over to him. When the access coast of us on Jerry bus Shigon, he realizes that the creature has just revealed its name, Jerry, by Shigon. Later, the Jack is asleep when a meteorite hits the ground beside him, setting off a meteor shower throughout the sky. Damage's terrified screams awaken the Jack and it enters the word Zedki and its dialect. Juribai starts running towards the cave but pauses and cuts Damage's feet free so that he can follow for safety. Damage freezes hands on some of the cave's rocks. After Garima falls asleep again, he takes the knife and appears ready to kill Juri about, but he can't bring himself to do it when he stares at him sleeping. Instead, Damage sneaks into the wrecked ship to steal some food. Despite its horrendous taste, out of nowhere Cheerio pushes him down with his gun drawn on him. Using gas juice and body language, Damage explains that the two of them need to collect whatever supplies that can from the debris. They need to find a safe place, use for shelter, or they will die during another meteor shower. Damage for us to carry the majority of the remaining supplies so that Juri but can have his gun ready anytime. They come across a glaring and Damage constructs a hug by utilizing what's available to them, but it collapses. During this time he injury but managed to pick up a few words in each other's languages as they camp. That 9 Damage gives the dragon nickname Jerry when Damage is transporting items from the debris to the camp. Fire, one of the turtle creatures appears. He grabs it but it scurries away fast. While this creature shell resembles that of a turtle, the rest of its body is entirely different and it moves quite quickly when it wants to. The following day, Damage slips into a pit of loose sand after chasing a turtle-like monster. He stands there and eyes the long pink tendril emerges and sniffs the air for odors and vibrations. Damage screams in terror, so he calls Jerry while clutching a piece of a tree that sprouts from the pit's edge. Jerry hears her screams and rushes over to help. Jerry clutches his hand and fires, cutting the tendon just as she's about to be pulled to the bottom of the pit. The creature's terrifying head emerges with a wide mouth filled with razor teeth. Jerry fires again, this time smashing the creature's head with many shots. Later that evening, Damage thanks Jerry while the latter heals his wounds. While the jack tends to him, Damage recognizes that the sand creature won't consume the turtle creatures because of their shells. He answered the shells may even resist meteors and that their low weight makes them ideal for a shelter. The very next day, Damage collects several shells and constructs a sturdy shelter for him and for Jerry. Jerry places the tollman a holy booklet around his neck as a tutor. The book must be delivered to the student according to his kind. They develop an unconventional friendship as time passes by. On the unexplored planet, they learn each other's language and begin to find comfort in each other. One day another meteor shower occurs, so both them hurried to the safety in their shelter. As they rush to the bunker, Jerry travels much slower and even stumbles. Jerry becomes defensive zone and a heated dispute ensues, culminating in a violent brawl. Afterward, they both play on the ground and Damage realizes that both of them are starting to go insane from the isolation. Damage finally decides to head out and explore the planet to find the source of the sounds and might they be heard and saw. On the other hand, Jerry refuses to shovel because he believes that they are the only ones on the planet. And Jerry will almost certainly die if he cannot return, so they build their goodbyes. Damage jumpstarts his journey by walking out into the glow of a hot lava lake. He moves with glee at the side of empty Pepsi-Cola bottles. He discovers a vast amount of scrap metal indicating the existence of mining activity on the planet. But Damage's joy is short-lived as he discovers a drag school among the trash. With confusion, he surmises that there may be humans around to take advantage of drags for labor purposes. At the shelter, Damage rejoins Jerry as winter falls on the planet. Jerry is overjoyed to see Damage and finally tells what has been wrong and why he couldn't leave with him. Jerry is currently pregnant. Jerry deals Damage that the Jack people, unlike humans, are hermaphroditic, meaning they reproduce automatically when the time comes. After some time has passed, Jerry begins stitching clothing for the baby. When Damages of the Jack baby has a name, Jerry responds that the name will be Sadness. While sleeping, the ground beneath them starts to shift and a little sinkhole appears. Another sand creature has been creeping underground and discovered them. The dung wraps itself around Jerry's neck, strangling and dragging him towards the creature's jaw. Jerry thrashes and kicks around helplessly until they manage to escape. Damage gradually awakens, then abruptly becomes fully alert. They've run out of the shelter as the monster has ruined their home. Amid the bitter cold, Jerry and Damage discover a cave deep beneath bare surface for warmth and shelter as they fall asleep again on the ground. Jerry explains that a dragon and friend does not fully integrate into their family until it is presented before the Sacred Council of Tracks on their home planet of Chicago by its parents. Jerry needs to do the practice for his anus. The lineage of Cheerio will end after some time. It's time to deliver the baby. Damage is terrified of the idea of losing Jerry, who has become one of his closest friends. Jerry immediately comes down and urges Damage to step in as a father for Sam is increasing his concerns. Damage best one day complete Jerry's role and brings them as before the Sacred Council on Jack's home world and recite its lineage. Jerry is only content when Damage each pledges to carry out his promise. He slowly goes away and dies, and Damage can only watch helplessly. Damage sits numbly short until he sees the birthing sad moving. He opens it and pulls out the newborn. Drag him fend them is who examines with a months pass and Sam is goes far quicker than a human child, reaching the size of a human. That a lesson is capable of thinking, reasoning and communicating. One day is Amos questions their physical differences, so Damage patiently explains Amos is aware that he is have a different race than Damage and that he is not as panned by with no other Jacks to assist him in up during his race and people. He wishes he were human. Meanwhile, the scavenger mines are becoming more prevalent on the planet, raising Damage's concerns. Zionist learns about the scavenging a mine and despite Damage's warnings eventually goes there in the hopes of encountering other Dracs. Xantus explores or blacks and disturbed by the sea. I'd have human scavengers abusing drugs slaves only to discover two of the scavengers' stubs. And Jonathan the brothers sees Amos, but just as they take him away, an arrow pierces through Jonathan, killing him. Unfortunately, Samus runs between Damage's. Stubbs draws his gun and fires a shot at Damage, which severely injures him. Stubbs takes Samus and drags him after the mine as a new slave shortly after to searchlight scoured the area and spot the unconscious Damage at the Earth station. Deceased military personnel are given burials in Space Acton capsules and launched into orbit to float among the stars. They come across a John Doe wearing a strange necklace with a small book attached to it, and they attempt to remove it. To their surprise, the body is still alive. In Damage is sent to another facility. Damage is transported to sickbay in a medical council where his peers and superiors verify his identity. They're astounded to learn that he's still alive 3 years after disappearing. Over firing for Damage's kinda returned to firing for and rescue Samus as soon as he is well again. Arnold, the leader of the fighter squadron, is incapable of stopping him despite his authority when Station Ox refuses to release the docking bay doors for him. Down. Huge blast them open with the ship's weaponry and flies down to 5 mean to save Samus. After landing, Damage sneaks into the scavenging camp and makes his way to a group of Jacks who are hard at work. He attempts to communicate with the Jacks asking about Samus, but to no avail. The Dracs do nothing but stare until a scavenging supervisor arrives and punish them until they return to work. Damage kills the superior, and the eldest of the drug slaves finally recognizes Damage. He is the only Jack in the mine that could communicate in English, so he informs Damage that Samus is on board the ship en route to the me and ship. Damage attacks to more scavengers to gain access to other parts of the mine. In disguise himself as a supervisor, he makes his way to Zap as it was imprisoned in a small cage. Damage tries to let him out, but Stumps arrives with the scavenging miners. Stabs examines Damage's face closely and recognizes him as his brother Skelly, so he captures them. Damage retaliates and kills the 2 miners. He takes out a gun and kills many other scavengers on his way. The Jacks become aware of the commotion and plan a revolt. Meanwhile, Arnold arrives next to Damage's ship and proceeds to the camp for the necessary backup. Finally, Stubbs knocks Damage unconscious and shoves him in onto the mining guy as he yells and brags is slain by a shotgun blast from the elder Drac. Finally, Arnold turns off the conveyor and removes Damage and Sadness from the trolley. Everyone looks on and despairs. Damage weeps over exam as until Santa is tentatively reaches for Damage's hand. Damage chuckles in joy. Roar, relieved that Sadness is still alive. After some time, Damage brings Amos and the other Dracs home to Chicken and fulfills his promise. He presents them as to the Jacks' Holy Council and recites the Juriel lineage so that Xanax can officially join his people. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on noted for case.